Olivia Newman he came to the labs with First Match. So my question to you is, was your short film, which I researched a little bit on, was that was one an exploratory proof of concept type to see where you could eventually go with a feature, or did the short then develop into something where you said, oh, there's a lot more story here, I want to stay with this character for a longer time? Or is it an amalgamation of both?
Right. I had been toiling with a feature script that had a girl wrestler in it.
Okay.
And so I knew I wanted to make, for my thesis at Columbia, I wanted to make a short film that focused on a girl wrestler. And so I went out and did some research because I didn't wrestle, I didn't know anything about wrestling. I just was fascinated by this idea that girls wrestle boys in high school, something, and went to all these wrestling matches and meets and practices and started interviewing the handful of girls that were wrestling on boys wrestling teams. Okay. And I discovered this whole other universe.
Is it a large knit group, or is it joint competitive?
At the time, there was a couple dozen.
Okay.
Now there are many more since I made the film.
Okay.
And so through my research and interviews, I kind of drew the story that would be in the short, but I knew I had all this other material that I really wanted to put into a feature. Okay. So I made the short sort of knowing that I would then grow it into a feature, and hoping that the short would allow me to kind of show people what the world of the feature would be like.
Of course, yeah. Of course. When you get to the labs, how did they? I think they probably screened the short. Did they screen the short, and did you get to do that with all your peers?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so you have that experience, and then now you're actually wrestling, quote unquote, with the pun, with the feature on paper. How is that process like for you?
It was great to show the short film at the lab. We showed it. Our shorts the first night.
Okay.
So when I met with my advisors there, they had all seen it.
Okay.
And so that was helpful for them, I think, because they could see the world that I was working in. The feature script is very different than the short.
Okay.
The central relationship between the father and daughter is completely different, but there are elements that they can sort of see the thread. And it was interesting because sometimes they would call me out on things. In the short, you gave us so much information visually without explaining anything, and you're explaining so much in the feature. So I know that as a director, you know how to do that. So, and when you're working in a short, you know that your time is so limited that you take as many shortcuts as you can. And I think with a feature, sometimes you get very wrapped up in the setup and in a scene, and you don't kind of work with the poetry of the visuals, or at least that was that's something that with the feature I need to go back and say, okay, I can get rid of a ton of this because I know that I can just.
How did the last? I mean, you're taking the short was a couple of years back, I imagine. So, Columbia is in the past, right?
Yes.
Okay, so. 2014 is you're writing the screenplay. You're getting ready to submit to Sundance. What was that film year like for you? Are you a cinephile? I imagine you are to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what films were part of what stuck out for you? Because I think when you're writing for a feature, you tend to look at films a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my general idea.
Well, I've been working on the script for many years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long process. I had a child in between. I took some time off, so it's been a.
Okay, it's been with you for a while.
The story is very close to me. But yeah, I mean, a couple of months ago, I think maybe right before I submitted to the lab, I saw Free Fail Station for the first time at home.
Okay.
It was a complete wreck, and I thought, and my first instinct after seeing the film was, what am I doing making films? I should be an activist. Like, why am I at home in my office alone, typing? I should be out there. I need to. And then I realized that I was saying this because I just seen a film that
made you react.
And I thought, well, if this is where I can do my best, if writing and directing is where I can do my best work and hopefully make other people feel, then that's how I can contribute. So that was really moving for me. I mean, there's so many films. I came to film from a women's studies and French background. That's
Okay.
what I studied undergrad.
Okay.
And so I fell in love with film watching Francophone cinema and women's cinema, and so my favorite filmmakers are like the Dardenne brothers, which when you read my script, you may not totally see the overlap, but I studied I watched Kid with a Bike over and over and over again because structurally it's so similar. It's about a boy who wants love, wants his father to love him. And my film is about a girl who wants her father to love her, and they go about it in different ways, but at the heart. And she's from Brownsville in Brooklyn, and she tries to get his love through wrestling, and he's from a small town in Belgium and tries to get this other father figure to love him by robbing a guy. But it's the same, they're the same universal stories.
Yeah, that's great stuff, especially if it's Dardenne stuff. I think there might be a little bit of a handheld over the shoulder type escapes, I guess, in your film. Maybe not. In terms of visual, since you have been living with this screenplay for a while, aesthetically, what are your ideas about what this film could look like? What are you influenced by, I guess?
I'm still searching for the visual language.
Okay.
I get very excited by films like Killer of Sheep and Ballast, in how composed and full of information and emotion a shot can be without moving the camera. Yeah. And then I'm also again I'm a huge fan of the Dardenne brothers, and sometimes you feel like the camera doesn't ever stop moving, and that you're right with the on the character's shoulder. Right. And so I think that there's a way to feel that immediate subjectivity without necessarily but there's a balance between the two, I think, that I'm still searching for, I sort of think of it as like a lyrical naturalism, where you can find emotion within the frame, and you can really use composition to get across all kinds of underlying subtext, but also feel so connected to the character that you're moving with them, and you're discovering the world through their subjectivity. So that's
great.